Balsamic glazed Brussels sprouts can actually be considered kind of a gateway dish to learning three techniques that you'll definitely be using in many other different recipes. And those three steps are rendering pancetta or bacon, steam searing some Brussels sprouts, which definitely comes in handy with frozen pot stickers, and reducing a sauce, specifically in this case balsamic vinegar. And for our ingredients, it's really simple. You have Brussels sprouts, pancetta, guanciale or bacon, some butter, and balsamic vinegar. That's about it. So first step, in a cool pan on medium heat, we're going to drop in our guanciale and also just add a splash of water and cover. And what this is going to do is this is going to slowly render all the fat and allow the guanciale to steam up and ultimately get crispy. The reason for doing this at medium heat is so that you don't have to worry about getting it burnt too quickly, and while this is happening you can prep the Brussels sprouts. I like to place the cut Brussels sprouts on a plate that's about the same size as the skillet that I'm using, so that I know when I have cut enough Brussels sprouts, and hopefully I didn't bite too much. So while you're prepping the Brussels sprouts, just periodically check on the guanciale to make sure that it's not getting too burnt. And if it is already close to the rendering the crispiness that you like, then you can just turn the heat lower or just turn it off entirely while you chop everything up. But coincidentally, it happens to be the right amount of crispiness as soon as I'm done with the Brussels sprouts. If it's still on medium heat, I would turn it down to low, mainly just to prevent any oil from splashing over, and using a spoon to spoon out the crispy bits. And this is when you realize that you should have gotten the pancetta at the deli sliced, because that is by far the cheapest way to get pancetta, and you can buy extra. So another reason to let the oil kind of cool off, keeping on low heat, is when you're dropping in the Brussels sprouts. The moisture in the Brussels sprouts are definitely going to splatter. So if you're worried about oil splattering, definitely keep the heat on low, or even just turn it off entirely. So here I'm using some chopsticks to make sure it's all cut side down. You can try to make it cut side down in the plate and get it in as smooth as possible, but for me this is by far the easiest way, so definitely work on your chopsticks game. So now we're cranking the heat back on high, and we're going to add in about a half cup of water and just pour it over the edge. And what this is going to do is this is going to steam the Brussels sprouts, and it's also going to make the oil pretty evenly distributed so that all of the Brussels sprouts will get a nice coating of oil and become nicely caramelized. Again, this is actually the same cooking technique to making pot stickers. So as the pot is covered, the water will evaporate, and ultimately it'll take about 7 to 10 minutes for it to cook all the way. And so in the meantime, you can just look at this dog who's constantly looking at the floor to see if you've dropped anything, and we have not dropped anything, so there is nothing for this dog to eat. But periodically just check for tenderness, and if it's squishy to the way you like it, then the next step is to check to see if it is cooked, crispy, caramelized enough to the way you like it. And at this point it's still not quite caramelized the way I want it, so just leaving it uncovered so that the moisture will go away and the oil will make it more nicely caramelized. And this is about another 2 to 3 minutes. But once it's to your liking, remove it to the plate, and then we pour in some balsamic vinegar. Just be sure that you pour it off to the side, because that steam will totally burn your hand. And yeah, pretty much straightforward. Adding about a half bottle of balsamic vinegar in here, maybe a whole cup or a cup and a half in here. And then going to just crank it up on high and let it boil off. to help bring it to a boil a little bit faster, you can cover it, and then once it starts boiling, make sure that it's uncovered, and so that all the moisture reduces. And then ultimately what's going to happen is that the sugars in the balsamic vinegar is going to thicken and caramelize, and then we're going to keep going until we're able to run a wooden spoon across and it is thick enough to the point where it doesn't really fill up that gap. And so it's still filling it up, so we're going to keep going, and I'm swirling it around to make sure that enough moisture gets around the pan so that not one part of the pan gets too sticky and starts getting burnt. And then after about 3 to 5 minutes of this, it's pretty much good to go. So the next step is to add a pat of butter. And what that's going to do is that it's going to make it silky smooth and delicious. And then we're going to add in the guanciale and the Brussels sprouts, turn the heat off, and just let it mix in all that goodness. And there you go. I hope this recipe will help you enjoy some more Brussels sprouts in your life, and also be able to make a couple other dishes that involve these 3 techniques. See you around.